Hi, this is Super Anime Lover Mania. Now trying to go by the name of the Blue-Haired Cyborg. I'm just posting a video about my thoughts on the latest story arc of Bleach, the Lost Substitute Shinigami arc, which has just ended with the last chapter. So, warning to all people who aren't aware of the full storyline of the manga, this does contain quite a copious amount of spoilers. So, if you don't want spoilers, if you're watching the anime and stuff, then might as well switch off this video now. So, basically, once Ichigo's finally got his full bring, then it turns out that all his friends have turned against him and this Tsukishima's controlling them all. And it's only him and Ginjo left. That automatically made me suspicious, to be quite honest. You know, how come Ginjo hadn't been affected or anything? So, then, massive fight ensues, and it turns out Ginjo is the enemy. And that Tsukishima used his power to make him more realistic and seem that he was on Ichigo's side. And then he steals all of Ichigo's power, his new full-bring power. Now, I thought that was brilliantly done by Tite Kubo. I mean, the way he tackled everything and Ichigo's response to this, which was the sheer emotional pain, really, about losing his powers again, made it all just seem so believable. And then he got himself stabbed by Rukia. But it turns out it returned all his Shinigami powers, and now he looks really different. His Zanpakuto toe's now got a hilt on it, and it's a different shape, and then his Shihakusho and everything all looks different. He's got bands like around his neck and on his wrists and hands, like what his final full-bring form was. Which kind of got me thinking, is there still some kind of full-bring power left? I mean, the powers of full-bring and substitute Shinigami are transferable, so... Anyway, then a massive fight happens, and other captains and lieutenants arrive. If I remember correctly, Renji said something quite interesting when he was fighting against Jackie. And he said something about training to fight Aizen. This automatically made me think, hang on, has Aizen escaped? Well, if that comment might have just been a case of I'm training to get to the level Ichigo was when he was fighting Aizen, to be able to beat him, you know, that sort of level. Or could it be Aizen's escaped, and that's why they've given Ichigo his power back, so that he can help them again? Who knows, we'll have to wait, find out. But I've got a sneaking suspicion there's more than goodwill behind them giving Ichigo his power back. Now, Ichigo's power, with its change and everything like that, when he uses Bankai, he's got a new Bankai as well. The guard's different, the sword's longer, and more curved. And this ended up making me think, if his Shinigami powers have evolved, then, and he also had the powers of full-bring, what could have happened to his hollow powers? I mean, full-bring is a hollow-like ability, so also with these new changes in his Shihakusho and everything, could his hollow powers have merged perhaps with his Shinigami powers? Or has he got an entirely new hollowification? Like what happened when his hollow took over during the fight with Ulquiorra. Maybe you'll be able to access that form now. Because Tosin was able to hollowify fully. That kind of got me wondering, is there a second stage Vizard? Kind of like how Ulquiorra had a second resurrection. Could the Vizards have a sort of second release? Then, who knows, maybe Ichigo will discover something along those lines. But also, are there any changes in his inner world? Will Zangetsu's materialized form have changed, perhaps? And Tensa Zangetsu's? What if his hollow form has changed? You know? I have a feeling that something's going to happen, possibly soon, about his hollowification powers. I think they will be a key plot point. Because, and this is a spoiler for later on by the way, like past where the manga is, apparently Tite Kubo has said that both Nell and Grimjaw will be coming back as main characters. That's part of the basis for my thinking that his hollow powers are going to go through some sort of evolution, and they're going to be key to the story in a bit, if they come back. Also, the Vizards are now back as part of the Soul Society. Seems that Shinji's back as captain of Squad 5. Kensei is back as a captain. I think he'll probably be captain of Squad 7. I think he was captain of Squad 7 beforehand. Quite fitting actually, because Hisagi was saved by him, and if Hisagi is now his lieutenant, it's kind of fitting that they met up again like that after all those years. Not sure about any other Vizards. And also, I'm not entirely sure about Urahara and Yoruichi's status with the Soul Society now. Because Yoruichi hasn't been in yet. And something still seems to be going on with Ishin and Urahara. It seems like people are basically trying to use Ichigo's power again. Probably because he's the main character and he's the most powerful of them all. But I'm guessing this next storyline will revolve around the Soul King. Now, for another section, what could happen possibly at the end of the series? Now, to be quite honest, I know that a lot of fan fiction is all about this, but there's just no pairings really in Bleach, if I'm perfectly honest. I mean, seriously, it just doesn't work with this show. It might work in fan fiction, stuff like that, but for the actual plot, I don't think Ichigo at least is going to end up with anybody. Because Ichigo's the sort who would sacrifice himself if it meant bringing long-term protection to his friends. And that's why I think that, and talking to a couple of friends as well, they think the same, that Ichigo will quite possibly die at the end of the show. I mean, with how Ichigo's been going so far, there's no real place left for him. He can't go back to a normal life. I mean, he tried that for the past 17 months or something, was it? And then it didn't work out, really, did it? he still had the pain of not being able to protect people. So yeah, I think that Ichigo's probably going to die, or maybe he'll take the place of the Soul King or something. You know, if the Soul King's killed and they need a Soul King to keep the Soul Society and all the Soul related things stable, if Ichigo sacrifices himself to keep that stability, that would be the sort of thing that Ichigo would do, in my opinion. And then as for like Rukia and Orihime and stuff, they're probably going to end up going the separate ways about stuff. Chad and Uryu's they're probably going to well, Uryu's going to end up getting kind of like long time work sort of thing, as protecting Karakura Town from hollows and everything. One thing I've been wondering about though, which I think will be covered in the story, is about Ishin's backstory. He's already stated that, well, pretty much stated that he's a captain. And also, that looks like the captain's Haori, which he has draped over his shoulder. So I'm just wondering, was he maybe the captain of Squad Zero, the Royal Guard squad? It's worth thinking about, because I'm sure at some point Ishin's backstory is going to be very relevant. And also, about him losing his powers and stuff, he was, when he taught Ichigo about the final Getsuga Tensho, he mentioned that he went through the exact same thing with his Zanpakuto Engetsu. So I think there's been another enemy to the Soul Society in the past, which may resurface, which Aizen may work for. I know it's a bit cliche that the first villain ends up being kind of the pawn or the lieutenant of the second villain, the main villain, but in this case it may be something like Aizen went after power again, escaped and found this other evil and ends up being enslaved to it through his own fault, not exactly by choice. Which I think may be a fitting end for Aizen as well. That he ends up looking for power and he then gets enslaved by a greater power. Hopefully it won't turn into the whole thing where Aizen ends up being an ally of the Soul Society. That just wouldn't work, in my opinion. It may work in some cases where, I mean, like Grimmjow was like Ichigo's enemy, but I think he'll probably come back kind of like how Renji and Uryu were on a smaller scale when they were adversaries and they became friends. Then I think a similar sort of thing might happen with Grimmjow, but that's on a totally different scale to what Aizen was. It wouldn't work for that. Right, so after all this rambling on, I'm going to wrap up now. Okay, so thanks for listening, if you've actually bothered to bear with me this far. Can't wait to see what happens next after this 3-week break. Hey, honestly. Anyway, right, thanks for watching, listening and everything. Bye.